Hello, folks. Welcome to the next episode of the Supply Chain Code. We are very privileged today to have invited Vitaliy from Vostok VR to talk about immersive technologies. Stay tuned for more. Okay, hello, Vitaliy. Welcome to the Supply Chain Code and show. Let's do this, right? Since we invited you to talk about immersive technologies, but first and foremost, I want our viewers to know more about you. So maybe you can share about something about yourself and your company, Vostok VR.
Sure. I came in Singapore in 2012, so that was a big surprise for me, and I really fell in love with the country. So I stayed in Singapore for more than 8 years now, and I have family here. And 6 years ago, I started my own company, Vostok. So the inspiration came from the Russian space program, and we started from different various like interactive installation until we got investment by MediaCorp, and I'm really proud that MediaCorp trusted us and they believe in our vision. So now we are mostly focused on immersive, augmented and virtual reality trainings, and we've done almost 100 projects so far, and projects in Singapore, Malaysia, and all across Asia. So we are quite, let's say, established in this field, and I was happy to be invited for this interview to share some of our experience, some of our previous experience.
Oh, that's truly impressive, 100 over implementations. But maybe for my viewers, we want to define or go into a bit of a definition first, right? How would you define immersive technologies? And the confusion really here is the various acronym used like MR, XR, VR, AR. In your expertise, as a subject matter expert, right? How would you define this?
I would say I would separate immersive technologies. This is like a general definition from AR, VR. So I would say I personally define, it's not like Wikipedia definition, but I personally define that immersive technology is the closest we can get to real life. Is the technology which allow you to be present in places you can't visit, or in a situation you can't create or you don't want to create, because it could be different scenarios. And this immersive technologies, this group, it separates between it divided in three main categories: virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. For virtual reality, it's easy because I think everyone saw this movie when you were in the headset, and I should have one with me. So you wear the headset, and the environment you are in, it's fully CGI, fully computer generated. So when you look around, that's completely, I'll say, created from the scratch environment, which is good because you can create any trainings, any situation. And that's why many oil and gas companies, or many, like some military companies, or some real estate companies, they love this technology. The problem is you need to wear the headset, because not everyone, especially during COVID times, not everyone comfortable wearing the headset. So that's why it's very immersive. It gives you the highest level of being present in the moment, but it requires special hardware. It requires kind of some I would say learning curve. A second option, it's something what we call augmented reality, is when you're just using your smartphone and you can project a 3D model inside your real environment. This is truly impressive because basically, like last week, we did showcase of a Subaru car in the office of one of our partners. So you can check different cars, you can check some different safety features, and basically you can do like a remote presentation in the live environment. So you can see all this animation on your smartphone. It's not as immersive as a headset, but the main interesting thing is that there are almost 10 million headsets available in the market. So 10 million it sounds like a big number, but imagine if it spreads across all over the world, that's not much. While if you are talking about smartphones, there are like more than 1 billion smartphones that support augmented reality. So you can imagine the scale of technology is much larger. So if you're creating something for augmented reality using a smartphone, you're creating like for the mass audience, for the mass population. I think this is the main benefit of augmented reality. And the last but not the least is mixed reality. Mixed reality is the technology when it looks very similar like augmented reality, but there are two main differences. Again, there are I'll say many different definitions, but first we define that the device you're using is different. So most probably you're using the glasses. So whether it's a HoloLens, whether it's Unreal, whether it's any other glasses, or whether it's like a mixed reality headset that's going to be launched by Apple, because they announced that they're going to launch in like, I think the end of 2022. So, and the main advantage is first, you don't need to, basically nothing holds in your hand. So it's more natural, it's more intuitive. You just wear in the glasses and you can see this virtual environment, so holograms inside your real environment. And the second main difference with augmented reality, that it can interact with your physical environment, because the sensor can track, for instance, you have sofa and you have the 3D model. So 3D model can hide behind the sofa because of the sensors. And that's make it even more real, because you don't need any effort, you don't hold any smartphone. It's just glasses which show you the digital object interacts with a physical object. So I should be honest here that if virtual reality, augmented reality is something we see wide adoption now, mixed reality, this is like moonshot. This is something we will see in 1-2 years, but definitely it has the biggest promise, because all the movies like Minority Report or Iron Man, they all basically they all describe this technology. I mean, mixed reality, this is definitely the way to go, but adoption is quite low now because of price, because of technology, but we see that the market is developing towards this direction.
It sounds interesting, but trying to take the term extended reality. So why do some folks use the word XR in trying to explain what you just explained?
Why are they using extended reality? Because I mean, obviously, it helps you to extend your reality, providing. Imagine like the example I gave you before, when you can bring your car, or when you can bring another company oil rig inside your real environment. So basically, you can extend what you see, you can extend what you experience. And what I'm truly excited about, and we've done our first hologram project, and it was presented for Minister of Culture of Singapore, but we plan kind of to work on so-called live hologram transmission. So instead of me having a call with you over Zoom, we can have like a small poll or small hologram in my environment here in Dubai. So I can see, I mean, I can interact with you, and it's already possible using virtual reality headset. We have these projects when we do some remote trainings, but I think that truly immersive, when you're just wearing the glasses and you can extend your reality with providing experiences, providing technologies, and even creating humans, like virtual humans or holograms of real people in your environment. So I think that's what they mean by extended reality. But let's be honest, like immersive technology, extended reality, I think that's just nice marketing concept, which basically enhances so many different technologies, like a range of different technologies.
I agree. I suppose so, right? All these are marketing acronyms and marketing terminologies. But now that we get the definition out of play, maybe I go straight into why we hosted this interview, right? It seems like immersive technologies or AR, VR are more gamers' world and more fun world. What is the state of adoption of this form of technologies in the commercial world?
Uh, we are we are certified partner for Oculus, and it gives us some advantages because Oculus shares some different research by IDC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and so on. And there was a recent research 2020 when like thousands of US companies, they were asked like what the new technologies you are playing with. And two out of three technologies was augmented and virtual reality. So it's become more, it gets wider adoption of enterprise VR, AR for enterprises, Fortune 2000 companies. And I see less and less example of gaming. Again, maybe it's my biased vision, because I see less and less examples of gaming, because definitely, like this headset, it was initially created for gamers, but then many corporations, many companies immediately realized that they can readjust it, they can make it work for the enterprise sector. So I should say that we see more and more requests. So if you look at the total amount of sales, let's say, of the virtual reality content, gaming content, let's say for South Asia, gaming content versus enterprise, again, maybe it's specific of the market, but I bet that the enterprise content is like 5 to 10 times larger in terms of volume, just because there is a big demand. Because virtual reality helps, like virtual augmented reality helps many big enterprises to save money and create some opportunities, like we mentioned, extend the reality they are in, especially during COVID time. And I feel that more and more companies nowadays, they moving towards the virtual and augmented reality. And another study I mentioned, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they compared like what are the results of person who doing just normal Zoom education versus a person who has virtual reality training. Just one day Zoom, one day virtual reality. And they calculated up to 4 times faster. The person who got the VR training, they can finish the task up to 4 times faster without any assistance from the superior or the higher management. I think that's a huge result, because again, 4 times faster means, it doesn't mean that your workers will work like 4 times more efficient, but it just means that there is a potential to be 2 times more efficient. So make 2 times double the work for the same price. I think COVID-19, it was a game changer. Yes, definitely it boosts the gaming industry, but it definitely boosts the enterprise sector and the corporate sector use of virtual and augmented reality. And I think one of the part of it, because if you're using virtual reality for game, that's just more fun. It's like nice to have. If you're using virtual reality and augmented reality for enterprises, that's become essential part of the business, because you can't travel, you can't train your staff. It's become must have. And that's why many enterprises, they don't have other choice. Again, unless they are working in a business which fully relies on Zoom. If you are working in training, or if you're working in construction, or if you are selling, let's say we are working with amusement park in Singapore, if you're selling the new amusement park concept, if you're working in this business, you don't have any other choice except using extended reality or virtual and augmented reality. So I think that's the main difference, because for gaming, it's nice to have. It's just one more tool to make fun. For enterprises, that's essential tool. That's become like one of the core features or core functions of the business, is to be able to share the ideas, share very interesting concepts, share complex ideas remotely. And you can't do it through Zoom. You need to do it through either augmented or virtual reality.
I can appreciate the benefits of adopting immersive technologies for companies. In fact, I've been advocating it, but I cannot see successful use cases since they've made quite a number of adoption, or at least a number of implementation. Could you share 1 or 2 cases that show some benefits, but has to be in the supply chain logistics world, or a bit related to our work in the logistics and supply chain side? Do you have 1 or 2 that you can share, 1 or 2 use cases?
Let's put it this way. For supply chain, I think it's still in early stage, because we had a few requests and from quite big companies based in Singapore, and currently they're looking for virtual augmented reality as a way just more effectively present the business they operate. So one company, they doing this interactive presentation of the company, which shows basically in augmented reality what are the core businesses, how they interconnected, and what value the company can bring to their customers. And again, this may not be essential part, but this is a nice start, because this is something they can share with their offices, with their customers based outside Singapore, because Singapore, it's always a regional hub. And it's very hard to be regional hub when everything is closed now. So I think this is one of the way how they approached this technology, to use it for presentation marketing. Another concept, this is what we're discussing, is to do a offsite, like on-site training using virtual reality remotely. And they approached us because we have a very good example for oil and gas, where we train. Last year it was 500 geologists. This year they plan to extend it up to 2,000 geologists. When we can create a photo replica copy of a specific like outcrop, and we can train people who are based remotely in every part of the world. Like 2 weeks ago, we had the training when the trainer was from UK and the students was from Malaysia, different parts of Malaysia, Singapore, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and there was like 30 people, and we felt like we were in the same environment. I'm not an expert in geology, but I was there. So we presented this technology to this supply company, and they are now looking whether they can train their warehouse staff, because they're still hiring people, and not always they have domain experts who are based, let's say, in Singapore, or let's say somewhere in Europe. They don't have the capabilities to bring them on site. And the second, even the basic one, the forklift operation, because not always you can kind of, you can find lots of Google, lots of like forklift fails, lots of videos, like how one mistake can make like not millions, but maybe hundreds of thousands of losses. And again, forklift operation is also a good way to train people in terms of like safety and in terms of how to control, manage, and operate. So definitely you won't get maybe 100% of result, but you'll get like 80%, or like at least you'll reduce your risk by, let's say, 4 times. That's, I think, quite a good result for any company, not just for logistic company.
So in your work with industry folks and working with commercial organizations, what do you think is the reason why adoption for these technologies are rather slow, or is it slow? I mean, I can sense that you have work, you have projects, and that's why you're in Dubai now. But I can also sense from talking to various folks in the industry that implementing such technologies in their setup is not something they look at it immediately. So what do you think could be the reasons why companies are not rushing or looking into adopting immersive technologies?
I think I can think of two main reasons. Reason number one is that many companies, before COVID, actually, during the COVID, we got the most number of requests. For instance, in 2019, we got maybe 2 requests a month. In 2020, we got like 4 requests a week. So that was quite a big increase. Yeah, definitely not every company was very serious or too deep into the technology. But I think what COVID brought, it changed the status quo, and many companies decided like, okay, now we need to go outside the comfort zone, and now we need to start changing something. So I think it affects some businesses. That's why most of our customers came, let's say, from oil and gas industry, because the oil prices drops and there was COVID and they can't train people and so on. So that's why they were the first batch who need to do some changes. For logistic industry, I feel that there is still some buffer, or there is still some pill that it's not going to change that soon, or like it's going to end soon. And or maybe one of the reasons, because when they operate in these huge businesses, there is very high, say, barrier to entry for other competitors, for other companies. So basically the companies feel quite comfortable, and again they have this buffer. So this is one of the reasons why not many companies implementing new technologies. And again, if you look at the warehouse safety and insurance, it's huge spaces, and you will require much higher investment at the first stage than let's say some, even like we do this one of the car distributor in Singapore. It's easy, like you just have like 10 cars, you just have some virtual showroom, while in warehouse it's much more complicated, because you don't have any, it's like all the goods are moving, all the like the place is changing all the time, so it's harder to find the use case. And the second reason, I feel that not many companies are happy to share their success stories, because we have few companies we worked, they have great results, but they will never share the results with public because I think because of their competitors. Because again, the company trained like 500 geologists. They plan to train like 2,000 geologists. That's like saving of millions of dollars. And it's literally millions because they need to fly them to different parts of the world. They need to train them. And again, this is 5-star hotel, all the transportation, everything covered. And we're not even talking about their salaries because the geologist salaries are maybe 3-4 times higher than average in this country. And yeah, they never, I mean, we signed like few NDAs, they never ask us to mention about the company or the results or anything else. So that's why I feel that sometimes this barrier can come from success stories because the people don't want to share big success stories. And even if you think that your competitors is not using extended reality or like immersive technology, that may be not true. Maybe they are using it, they get in benefit, but at the end of the day, they just have a very strong legal team who prevents this story from being public. So yeah, I think that's also the second reason what we see in the market right now.
That's quite sad, right? I mean, the fragmentation of the industry is preventing
True.
such success
That's
stories.
that's that's why I think the association like has like your supply chain Asia needed because you can find these use cases, you can promote it, and kind of create this synergy effect across the whole industry. Otherwise, again, it's like individual players playing with their own technologies, not sharing experience and not sharing fails or success stories. Because again, people, I mean, companies don't like to share both success stories and sometimes even some experiments, even if they are not maybe as successful as they expected.
Okay, so for the last part, I mean, my last question really is this. I want to encourage our community members and our viewers to get into some form of proof of concept, some form of a trials. I was just wondering, do you have such plans? If you do have, maybe you can share potential scenarios where this can be applied, and then I find a way to encourage our viewers and members to take on part of this.
Sure. I would say out of 6 projects we sold within maybe last 6 months, 5 of them started with proof of concept. And I would say that's looks like a most viable step for us because if the company has a larger vision or if they have some big process, we usually select a smaller part of it and visualize it so they can at least imagine how the final product is going to look like. And I think it's a win-win on both sides because from one side the company they understand how the final product is going to look like and whether it's something they expected. Because let's be honest, like not many companies know, like when they wear in the headset, they don't know what they expect. Some people expect something like Avatar, some people expect something like Minecraft. So it's two different like qualities. And from other side, it's win-win for us because we can prove that we can deliver this task. And sometimes, again, it never happened in our case, but I believe that sometimes we even can understand that, for instance, this company doesn't need this technology at this stage, or they need something else. For instance, we work with one of the largest real estate company in Singapore. We created a virtual reality project as a POC, as well as we created a augmented reality project. They look in VR and they told us like, no, we don't need it because again, most of our customers, they're like 50 plus and I mean, COVID, they don't want to wear the headset like, and I perfectly understand them, but they decided to proceed with augmented reality. So that's a win-win for both of us because from one side we get, let's say, nice loyal customer who is interested in the final result. From other side, we kind of be sure that we deliver the product they need. So to make a short summary, we would be happy to work on some POCs. I think if you're looking at what are the main obvious areas for supplying companies, like what are the main areas to look at? First, the obvious one is a marketing and sales presentation. Let's say how to visualize the business, how to show the complexity behind the business, because many people, sorry for, I mean, you can cut this part, but I don't think many people understand what's the difference between DHL, FedEx, and let's say Siva. And it's they need to explain it. For instance, that was my, like, opened my eyes when I work on Subaru project. And when we start doing all the visual stuff, animating the safety features, I understood how advanced Subaru is versus many other cars. It's extremely safe. It's one of the safest if you are like, I mean, if you drive or if you have family. So I think marketing is, or like a sales, some tools which enable your remote sales team based, let's say in Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, to show your product from a best perspective. This is the most obvious one. And something which involves risk, again, the most obvious seems to be forklift operator. Again, because there is a possibility to do it fully software, to combine software and hardware, so you can kind of pretend like you're driving forklift. You can have some different scenarios, different plans. This is also one of the obvious POCs we could work on. But again, would be more than happy to look at the process and understand what are the sweet spot, or like what are the processes we can create in virtual and augmented reality. Because it's hard to be the pioneer, it's hard to start something, but there is definitely advantage, because if you start it now, in like 2-3 years, you'll become leader in this respective field. While if you wait for 2-3 years, then you still need to start, but like 2-3 years later versus your competitors.
I don't want our viewers and community members to take this for granted. So the idea of a POC and even the trial, are you going to do this for a song, complimentary basis? How does it work for them in terms of their cost models?
I can be quite honest with you, and again, I hope our marketing team or like our sales team won't object it, because 5 POCs we worked in Singapore, we all done it for free. Again, we done it at our cost, just because we wanted to show our commitment and wanted to prove that we have the quality. I mean, we can deliver. The thing is, I would say there are a few factors which affects it, because we need to see if this POC or if this project is supported by high level management. So in our case, it's usually either managing director or one of the deputy directors. And if we see the big potential for the technology to become kind of more wider adoption, or like spread across different offices and so on. And if there is a chance to develop it even further, let's say for one company, we developed a small prototype, then we developed a project, then we ported to augmented reality. Now we're discussing about mixed reality project and so on. So from a small POC, it's becoming more like a 2-3 years plan, the journey to extended reality. So I would say I would love to discuss, but again, if there is a high management support, as well as there is potential to grow it to larger project and get some results, because we're also interested about results, because I mean, every company wants to do something nice, because it's personally quite rewarding, but it's also because you can make a nice case. Again, as a partner of Oculus, we can push this case to United States, and it can become a like international case. So that's why we are very, very interested in this field. And again, we don't mind to do it for free, but free doesn't mean it's like it's cheap. It just means that it's a partnership. We invest, you invest, and we work on some interesting project.
I do agree with that, because I don't want the industry folks to take this for granted. Free does not mean that I take advantage of a startup like a Vostok VR. And Supply Chain Asia, we do not encourage that anyway. I do know that ballpark of such investment are in the region of at least 30, 50 for small projects, and at least 6 figures for larger projects, which I believe is what you're doing. So anyway, some last words from you, right? What is your vision of immersive technologies coming into this commercial world in the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you see us heading into?
I would say I can, because again, I have my personal view, like my personal transformation, because when we started in 2015, I always have a doubt that the technology we create or the solution we create, whether they bring any value to the customers, because we were doing some 360 tours, 360 videos, some 360 drama and so on. And I think 2020 was the first year when I realized that we do bring value. So we do change the companies, we do change the companies operate. And I feel that it's not just my feel. It's like the feel of the customers we work with, the feel of other chief executive, top executive who start to think about virtual reality, augmented reality seriously, mostly because the status quo has changed. So now it's a time to innovate, not because it's nice or like it's a hype, but because you must. You don't have much choice. You either innovate or like you probably need to leave this business in like 3 to 5 years. So I see wide adoption of virtual reality for the next 1 or 2 years, wide adoption for augmented reality. And definitely the trend for the next few years is 5G, because instead of like storing all the data in your smartphone or like on your headset, you can stream it through the cloud. And definitely the second trend is cloud, because everyone will be connected, the businesses. Even now we have requests and we are working on some prototypes when one person wearing the headset, another person is on laptop, third person on smartphone, and they can collaborate in the same environment, in the same virtual environment, like in the same extended reality. So I think this is definitely the trend for the future. It's like everything going to the cloud, multi-user, multiplayer, and connection from every point of the world to work together on the same project, which I think quite exciting. This is something like we returning back to what COVID took from us as a journey, like pleasure of communicating with others. So now we just need to do it in virtual world.
I do think COVID drove a lot of people into technologies, and they are a lot more embracing of it than to walk away from it. Vitaliy, thank you for joining us. Appreciate the time you've taken. And now that you're in Dubai, please stay safe. We look forward to
Sure.
see you. When there are interests here, I will pass the interest to you, right?
Sure. As soon as I get vaccinated, Pfizer, the one approved by Singapore, I'm going back to Singapore. Yeah, because yeah. But thank you for the invitation, and it was really pleasure that also you are interested about this technology, and you're trying to deliver the message to other participants, other companies, because I think you're like ambassador of new technology, and this is always nice and good, good to have on our side.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And that was Vitaliy from Vostok VR. It's the end of our show. We are definitely looking forward to do more. Thank you for support. Thank you for your support, and thank you for watching. See you, folks. Bye.